Hello, everybody. Welcome to All About Movies, the podcast talk show that's all about movies. I'm your host, Evan, and today with me is another qualified film person, Alix.
Hey guys.
She's a frequent guest. She's about to get her film degree from the University of Iowa,
Woo.
which is exciting.
I guess.
And I've got one.
Yeah.
It's doing me something. I
Some
don't know.
amount of good, not too much bad.
Who's to say?
Yeah.
Anyway, today we'll be talking about some filmmakers who are doing pretty good.
Better than me.
Better than me as well.
And that's okay.
Yeah. No jealousy here.
No, only admiration.
Yeah, these are all some up-and-coming filmmakers. They don't have a heck of a lot of films on their filmography, but it looks like they're making stuff. It looks like they're about to get more, and we're excited.
Yeah, I'm really pumped to do this episode.
So we've got kind of what would be a top 10 list, except they're not in any particular order.
Yeah, it feels weird like ranking strangers on how much we are excited about their work, especially since they're all much more successful than we are.
That's true. They are all older, though.
Yeah, which leaves me with some hope and optimism.
There you go. Maybe we'll eventually make some people's lists. But for now, let's hear our lists. Starting off, if anyone listened to our episode on the top 5 best movies of the year so far, it'll be no surprise that we're super into Ari Aster.
Yeah.
Of making Hereditary fame. He's mostly done short films, Hereditary being his first feature, but it looks like he's going to have another film coming out in 2019 that's currently in production, Midsummer. Not a heck of a lot is known about that yet, but I'm already excited to see it just because Hereditary's so good.
Oh yeah, Hereditary was amazing. And really the only thing anyone knows is that Midsummer is going to be really like pagan culty, and that's the sweet spot for me. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I personally tried to track down a couple of his short films to watch. The Strange Thing About the Johnsons is his debut short. A lot of people like it, got a lot of buzz. Very weird. It seems discomfort is where Ari Aster lives. That's his zone.
That's where he exists. He's never comfortable, and you shouldn't be either.
Yeah, watching Hereditary for sure made me feel that way. And watching The Strange Thing About the Johnsons also makes me feel that way. Very uncomfortable film.
Yeah, you were telling me about that, and I was uncomfortable listening to you talk about the film.
But yeah, it's also kind of about a family like Hereditary is. And there's weird stuff going on behind those closed doors. And that's probably all I'll say.
Yeah? Don't want to give away the twist.
Yeah, if you're fine being uncomfortable, go ahead.
Yeah.
It's very well directed. Had a lot of good things to say that I think if you're not too busy being uncomfortable, you'll get. It's not inaccessible in its symbolism and metaphors. But yeah, a lot of great visuals, a lot of stuff we'll see later on in his work. Because I also watched another short film of his, some similar visuals, even more into a lot of the fun movements.
Yeah.
And the camera work.
Beau.
Yeah,
right?
Beau is the short film. That one's from 2011, as is The Strange Thing About the Johnsons. I think this is when he was at the AFI Conservatory.
Oh.
Yeah, hence why they look nice.
Yeah, and not like they were shot on a camcorder.
Yeah, not like they were made at perhaps other film schools that one in this room could say they attended.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We're not complaining.
No, we're not bitter. It's fun.
Instead, we're gonna say how cool that it looks like the AFI Conservatory is able to make films look, because
Yeah.
man, Bo's phenomenal.
Yeah. The shot we really liked, that you made sure to point out to me on my viewing. The beginning follows a man kind of like somewhat frantically packing the main character, as we'll find out. And while we're like getting some really cool movements between him going to the bed and going to his dresser, there's this really great shot that follows the zipper as it closes on his suitcase.
Yeah, it's almost like a zipper POV.
Mm, it's not quite. It's
Almost.
not
It's
quite.
not quite. Either way, this film also provides discomfort more so through the main character than it is in the subject matter towards the audience,
hmm
like in The Strange Thing About the
It's
Johnsons
not.
and Hereditary.
Yeah, I. It's not nearly as um
Upsetting.
upsetting. Yeah, it's more just like relatable. Like, woohoo, I feel you, buddy. Not like upsetting. I guess is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, but all in all, I'm excited to see where he goes.
Yeah,
Definitely up and coming.
yeah, definitely. Very, very excited.
So this next director is a bit of an odd choice because he had a film just come out, this being his debut film. And there's not talk for sure of him doing more, but it seems he was a little sick in his former career path,
Mm-hmm.
and he did such a great job that I imagine he might do more. This being Bo Burnham of just making 8th grade fame.
Yeah, of Bo Burnham stand-up fame as well.
That too, that too. I'll admit I liked his stand up. Throughout that, he was a director on his stand up specials. He also directed a stand up special by Chris Rock.
Oh.
That's, I think, coming out later this year. But 8th grade was something that was on our want to see in 2018 list, on our 2018 so far special, if
Mm-hmm.
anyone's heard that. And we got to see it, and it at least affected me enough that I'm excited to see more, so I hope he directs more.
Yeah, yeah, like I had never seen his stand up. But from what I heard about them, I didn't think I would necessarily like his stand up. But I really liked 8th grade. I really liked his take on puberty and middle school and social situations and awkwardness and just being a kid in general. I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, someone said that it is one of the first films to properly capture the digital age.
Mm.
And I think in the ways that it deals with, like, cell phone usage and the internet and that sort of thing narratively in the plot, I think I'd agree.
Yeah, I mean, there's even like a little section during which our main character is hanging out with some like high school seniors, and they're like, dude, like we've grown up around technology, but like all she knows is technology. How bizarre is that? And they get a little bit more irreverent with it, but it is a really interesting sentiment. Like even within this generation, people have experienced different levels of technological immersion.
And the thing too, with him, just to kind of not at all go off of what you were just saying, but
I
something
noticed.
else, is that when one looks at his stand up, it's very choreographed and very performative.
Yeah.
As unlike a lot of other stand up comedians, I know a lot of other people in the field. I don't want to say look down on him for it, but it definitely seems as though they don't appreciate his style as much since it's so
Side eye him
constructed.
for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one can kind of see that in some interviews he does on Mark Maron's podcast, WTF.
Mm.
He kind of is treated a little less than as respectfully as Mark Maron maybe treats the other comedians that come on the
He
show.
kind of like talks down to him a little.
Maybe a little, yeah,
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
less appreciative of
Yeah.
his take on the comedian craft.
He's also like a kid, comedian wise.
That's true too.
He's like 28 now. and he's been making stuff since I was like in middle school myself. Um, he's been around a while, but he's also like really really young, so I feel that comes into it.
I'm sure too. That does make sense. But there's not a heck of a lot to talk about him
No, yeah,
for that reason.
yeah. I hope he keeps putting out stuff like Eighth Grade. Uncomfortably realistic and upsettingly relatable.
Yeah, that's kind of what I look at as a big tell of a director's talents is if you feel the way that it's very clear that they're wanting you to feel.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah,
clear he wants you to feel nervous and uncomfortable
yeah.
because of his shooting style and the score and the
Mm-hmm.
acting. And I at least felt nervous and uncomfortable.
Yeah. I same, and so did the other people we went with.
That's true
They
too.
were not happy afterwards.
That's true. They thought it'd be a comedy since it's Bo Burnham, and
I also thought it was supposed to be a comedy. I even accepted it all the way through that it was a really dark comedy.
I
Um,
mean, it's not like there's not funny moments.
no, but our friends of the show were not as forgiving as I was.
That's fair. That's fair. So moving on to someone older,
Yeah.
a little more seasoned, still not with a heck of a lot of films under his belt. We have Eli Craig,
Mm.
who holds a special place in my heart for making the film Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I just adore. But if one looks at his filmography, there's a short film in 2004 called The Tao of Pong, which I got to watch off of his personal YouTube page.
What a weird thing.
Yeah, he uploaded it in 2 parts, and I watched it. It's pretty good, pretty funny. Doesn't at all touch on horror at all,
Yeah.
which his later work is almost exclusively horror based. It does reference a ping pong player named
Oh.
Lao Pan that
Ah.
is not real, but that's the name of the villain in Big Trouble in Little China, the John
Yes.
Carpenter film.
Yeah, I was wondering why that sounded incredibly familiar. We
Yeah.
did just watch that. That's really bizarre.
Right? So it definitely, in a singular Easter egg, shows that maybe he's interested in the horror genre. That later you get in his next film, and his first feature film, it looks like, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is a nice little turn on horror, kind of a horror comedy,
Mm-hmm.
where it ends up that the hillbillies living in the woods are the good guys, and the college kids are running amok on their land, which is just too clever for me to not enjoy.
Yeah.
And then it looks like he directed an episode of some show called Brothers and Sisters. I don't know this.
The episode being Get a Room. I don't know what this show is about.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
either.
I don't think I like it though.
And then he got to direct the pilot for a TV series based on the movie Zombieland. And unfortunately, that didn't go anywhere.
That's sad.
That is
Sorry,
sad.
Eli. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good home for him.
Yeah, yeah.
He got to make another movie in 2017.
A very fun movie.
Very fun movie, Little Evil.
That was really great. It was kind of like The Omen, except you put Adam Scott in The Omen.
Yeah, it was a comedic twist on The Omen, where you're like, maybe we save the kid. The kid's maybe not so bad. Or maybe
Yeah.
the kid's evil. It's kind of like the stepdad to a kid from The Omen.
It's really fun. It's a really interesting look at like what it means to be a stepfather and kind of a look at that through the lens of the horror genre, which I think is the perfect genre for stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would. I thought it was going to be like really weird and slightly irritating, but it was really heartwarming. Really great cast, really great characters. I featuring in sort of a sidekick role a fellow stepdad in this like stepdad therapy group who seems to be on some level gender non-conforming, if not just trans, which was I thought an interesting choice for a character and not one that I often see, not one that I see like played so genuinely and with so little focus on that identity, you know?
Yeah, it's never brought up. This character just is a man, even though
Yeah.
clearly being played by an actress.
Yeah, yeah, just played by a female actress, but everyone refers to them as he and by a male name. And he also wears a lot of sweater vests.
That's true.
I don't know why that's like his thing, but it works really well.
A very fun character as
Really
well.
great, yeah.
Pairs well with Adam Scott.
Yeah, kind of checks Adam Scott's meeker nature. Kind of pushes him to go beyond his limits.
That's true. So, audience, if you haven't seen Little Evil yet, I recommend it. Somehow, if you haven't seen Tucker and Dale versus Evil,
Like me.
like you, go see that because it's ridiculously good, and I don't know anyone who's seen it and didn't just love it. But moving on from me gushing about Eli Craig,
We got
we got a personal favorite of the show also, Greta Gerwig,
Greta fucking Gerwig.
who
Ugh.
has made two films. One of them she co-directed,
Yeah, Lady Bird was her
solo directorial
solo
debut.
debut. Yeah.
Yeah, with Nights and Weekends being her first film that she co-directed. I haven't seen this film. I can't speak on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good enough for her to get work afterwards.
That's true.
So cool. Cool.
Primarily, and this is a thing that we'll see continuing through this list, she started out elsewhere in the film business. She started out as an actress, primarily. She still acts.
Yeah.
Most recently, she was one of the voices in Isle of Dogs.
That's so cute.
Though I guess that just means that she acted years ago.
Yeah.
And it has been finished by now.
Yeah.
But there's also stuff as recently as 2016 that she's done a lot of work in.
The Mindy Project being one of those.
Yeah, she's got
Which is fun.
2 episodes of that. She's in 20th Century Women. She does a lot of TV. Frances Ha was kind of where she first came to a lot of attention, stealing hearts in this indie film. I haven't seen it yet, to be honest.
I haven't either. I've just heard a lot about it.
I have to keep my head down in the independent film circles when they talk about Frances Ha.
Just kind of look at the floor, shuffle your feet.
Yeah, exactly. But I've heard it's amazing. The cinematography looks great. I heard that's a big factor in it.
Ooh.
And I hear that she's very endearing in it. But when one looks at Lady Bird, I think one can see she certainly has an eye for directing also.
Yes, very much. Lady Bird was great. She seems to be really good at creating and provoking both like really complicated and like frustrating characters, but also characters that are very lovable. Between both Lady Bird and her mother, like both of them are very frustrating characters, and neither one of them are anywhere near perfect. But at the end, you still kind of love both of them.
Something that I've heard from like the actors that have played those characters is that she's one of the best people that they've worked with as far as directing actors go. Like Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf both have gushed about how attentive she is to her actors and working with them and that sort of thing.
That's saying something coming from Laurie Metcalf, because like she's been around for a while.
That's true. Mostly on the stage.
That's great praise, though.
Yeah, right?
That's great. I know. I did hear that like working on her set was a very pleasant experience because she was very concerned about the well-being of her cast and crew, and she kind of realized that that would affect the outcome of her film. Like, it's not just the direction you give your actors to portray your characters, it's also the environment that you give them to work in. And I think that's a really great thing to be aware of. I think more people need to kind of adopt that way of filmmaking.
And it looks like there's going to be even more Greta Gerwig
It does.
coming soon.
That's so exciting.
Because she's making an adaptation of Little Women coming out next year.
So, like, I didn't read Little Women, everything I know about Little Women comes from that Friends episode where Rachel makes Joey read Little Women. Um, I know it's about women. I know there's a lot of them.
They're little.
They're little. Are they like literally little, or are they like
I
figuratively little?
I think they're mostly like young adults. So
Young
they're like
adults.
young
Okay,
women.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things where it was like a classic book, and I was like, I don't want to read that. I want to read the cool fantasy novels.
I haven't read Little Women either.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, though, in the entertainment field, especially that already direct or write, I think most of them have an adaptation they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it just kind of, I just think it's kind of part of the process when you're deciding you want to be a creative type.
Yeah.
You get from reading things, you're like, I could do this. And that's probably the case with her in Little Women.
Yeah, it's a weird kind of like random thing to be in pre-production at this point in time, but it does seem like something that would be a passion project.
Yeah, it's something that's been done, but I think that, she's got a good eye.
Mhm.
She's got a good way to tell stories.
Mhm.
I happen to sidetrack a little, hear her on an NPR podcast
Ah,
that was about that themed itself around dinner parties.
interesting.
And one of the things they would do is they'd have different segments where they'd talk to different famous people. And one of the things they do is they would have a famous person tell a story. And they had Greta Gerwig on, who told just a beautiful story
Oh.
about a shirt that's in her closet that she got from someone she went to college with. And it's a very engaging story. And it just had me sold
Mhm. Oh
that,
yeah.
we need more Greta Gerwig stuff.
Hell yeah. Greta Gerwig all the way. Now, backtracking a little, what's your adaptation? What's the one thing that you think you could do really really well as an adaptation?
I think the big thing that I would love to do and would never get the chance to do would be Death of a Salesman.
Death of a
I
Salesman.
think it's in me.
Yeah. I see that spirit in you.
Yeah.
I
You
I
see the
see,
death of a salesman inside of me
yeah,
deep down.
I see the dead salesman. He's poking out.
Whoa. Mostly because there was a project in high school where one of the options on the project was to film a bit of a play. And I happened to get Death of a Salesman. And so I did too long of a project where I filmed several scenes, orchestrated and directed and all that kind of thing of Death of a Salesman, and I got hooked. But there's no doing that now
Yeah,
because there's no way I'm getting the rights to Death of a Salesman.
not now at least.
Not now, anyway. What's your adaptation dream?
I don't I don't know if I necessarily have one like
I
set
guess
in
you're just
stone.
poking holes in my theories then.
I don't well, here's the thing. I mean, I'm newer to filmmaking than you are. So I don't think I've done it enough to where I'm like, this would be the thing I could definitely do. But I know one thing I would love to do is like a weird modernized adaptation of The Crucible. Like I would absolutely love that. Like I know we already have an adaptation in the 21st century. Um but I just love the Salem witch trials a lot. Like it's a piece of history that I've always been very interested by, and something I've done like a lot of research on for like various school projects. And I think it's a story I would like to dissect and adapt and put in a modern setting. So I don't know if it's my Death of a Salesman, but it's the closest I have right now.
Here's the thing, you just have it take place in the far future. Sci-fi film The Crucible.
Oh, sci-fi film.
The Crucible is now a space station.
Interesting. I don't think you know what the Crucible is
I-
about. The Crucible isn't a place. It's
It's now a space station.
it's a metaphor. Moving on from whatever this is.
But back on track from our filmmaking dreams.
Yeah.
We get on to our next up-and-coming director. It's a little weird to call him that because he's so very qualified in the field of writing and producing. This is Drew Goddard, whose only film that's currently out that he's directed is The Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
Although he's done 2 episodes of The Good Place,
Mm.
the TV show, which I enjoy.
Yeah. I don't know if I would like it, but I see why you would like it.
It is a little goofy for you.
Yeah. I'm not a goofy woman. I'm a woman who wants to adapt the Crucible.
That's fair. But yeah, primarily this guy's been a writer, producer. He's written a lot of stuff. He started out in television on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
On one of my favorite episodes, Conversations with Dead People.
That's true.
Really bizarre episode that like frames itself like a music video at the beginning and then just goes on to be really surreal.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That alliance with Joss Whedon continues, with him writing on Angel as well. And also with them kind of writing Cabin in the Woods together,
Yeah.
and then later Drew Goddard directing it.
Yeah.
He later moved on to work on Alias with J.J. Abrams, and then wrote Cloverfield, and wrote a lot on the TV show Lost.
Mm.
Then World War Z, The Martian.
Acclaimed film, The Martian.
Yeah. And then doing Daredevil, the TV series. It looks like he was one of the creators on.
Hit series Daredevil.
First season, ridiculously solid. And then
Second season, not quite. Not quite so much.
second season's fine.
Yeah.
First season's just so good. And then the second season kind of introduces some stuff that's like, I'm not interested in that. And it has other cooler things going on, but it won't focus on that. It's a little disappointing. But anyway, we finally get...
Anyway.
we finally get to him directing some more films coming out soon.
Yeah. The Bad Times at the El Royale.
That's true. That's a film that it has a really cool looking poster. Looks like it's going to drop later this year.
Mm.
Should be good.
Should be really good. Has a great cast if I remember right.
Yeah. It looks like it's starring Chris Hemsworth coming back from Cabin in the Woods, Nick Offerman, John Hamm. Ridiculously good cast.
Yeah, that's solid in the first 3.
Right? I really want to see those actors together now that I know it's an option.
Yeah. Chris Hemsworth is so good in Cabin in the Woods. I
That's
know that's
true.
taking it back a little bit, but like, so good. But yeah. And then X-Force is it's not really in pre-production even yet. It's just kind of announced that he's, I think, writing and directing it.
That's what it looks like at the very least.
Okay.
The spin-off of Deadpool, for those that don't know.
Mhm.
X-Force.
X-Force.
So that should be exciting.
It should be weird if it's anything like Deadpool.
He seems to have a good take on humor,
Yeah.
especially with Cabin in the Woods, and it looks like through a lot of his written work. He also produced a lot of the things he wrote on, including one of the sequels to Cloverfield, 10 Cloverfield Lane. He's a producer on.
Interesting.
Yeah, so kind of well-rounded film guy.
Filmmaker, yeah. Kind of putting on many hats. I like it.
Yeah, and it's nice to see him finally direct some more.
Yeah.
Generally, with a gap like that, I wouldn't call him up and coming, but he's got a film coming out again real soon, and another one announced that's big budgeted.
Yeah, so like he's finding his stride, which is nice.
Yeah, it
That's
just
good.
looked like there was a bit of a gap where he's like, I'm going to screenwrite a bit more. And so he wrote The Martian, which, based on a book, but still, a lot of people liked that movie.
Yeah. Adaptations don't always end up that well.
That's true. Moving on from Drew Goddard is this woman that I don't think you've seen anything
No, I
that
don't think
she's made
so.
because she's only directed one film and you
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
No, I have not.
This is Marielle Heller, who, like some of our other people, has worked elsewhere in film first,
Mm-hmm.
being an actor who's worked on just all kinds of stuff. Not in any major roles, but she's in a lot of stuff. Like she's in MacGruber,
Mm-hmm.
she's in A Walk Among the Tombstones, and pop star Never Stop, Never Stopping.
Yeah.
But it looks like after The Diary of a Teenage Girl, she directed an episode of Transparent, 2 episodes of Casual, which
Hmm.
I've not seen either of
I
these
think I've
shows.
seen like I've seen stuff for Transparent, and I've seen like commercials for Casual, and it seems to be like a show about the awkwardness of life.
You know, going off of the Diary of a Teenage Girl, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Being about a girl coming of age in, I want to say, 70s?
70s. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that would
yeah,
look like that
definitely
would
the
be the
70s.
70s.
Yeah, it involves a teen girl kind of learning about herself, learning about her sexuality, uh, deciding what she wants to do. She seems to get into the underground comic scene a little bit.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
that's
just,
cool.
yeah, it's a very well made film with Kristen Wiig in it and Alexander Skarsgård,
That's quite a duo.
right? Neither of those are the teen girl,
No.
but they're definitely good supporting characters. It's a film I liked a lot and then kind of fell off my radar till I was trying to look at directors who haven't done a heck of a lot yet, but will. I came across this director and I went, you know, this was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I saw it when it came out. It was one of the first movies I saw at the Art House Theater when
Really.
I moved to Iowa City, and it just blew me away. I think I need to revisit it again soon. Um, but it looks like she has some movies coming up. One
Mm-hmm.
that's coming out later this year, Can You Ever Forgive Me? One that's in pre-production now, You Are My Friend.
Mm.
And then 2 that look like they've been announced, The Case Against 8 and
Mm.
Colma.
Mm.
So she's got 1 film coming out, 3 that seem like they're going to come out. So she's just putting out 4 films here right off the bat. So I think the gap between 2015 and now is pretty okay.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
forgivable.
I think that's fine. She seems to be doing well anyway.
Yeah, and while The Diary of a Teenage Girl was an adaptation of a book,
Mm-hmm.
I think some of these more original films are gonna still hold up pretty well for her.
Yeah.
Definitely a name you don't hear talked about a lot,
No,
but I'm
not
excited.
really. Yeah, there should be some good stuff coming from her.
But now we're moving on to another woman on this list that also hasn't done a lot of film yet, and also it seems has started out as an actress,
Mm.
being in smaller roles in several films, including Babe Pig in the City,
Babe Pig in the City.
which makes sense since she's an Australian. This being Jennifer Kent of the Babadook fame.
Babadook.
She before the Babadook, having done a short film called Monster.
Which is basically the Babadook, but like shorter and in black and white and not quite as clear on the themes, but still really, really good.
Yeah, it definitely informed later the Babadook, with it basically being a lengthened remake of this film.
Yeah.
And she also directed an episode of a TV series before the Babadook, being Too Twisted, which I don't know what that is.
No,
It
maybe
might
it's
be,
Australian TV.
yeah, it might be. But the
uh,
Babadook is very good. It coming out in 2014. A nice horror film, kind of one of those layered horror films that we're getting a lot of lately, where
yeah.
it kind of is about the difficulties in being a single mother,
Yeah.
which is metaphoric by a monster.
Also kind of the struggles of dealing with mental illness and then like having to confront that you have to raise a child while dealing with this mental illness, and you have to raise a child that might share this mental illness with you.
Yeah, it's very very good. It's a
Yeah,
very good
really
movie.
solid. One of the first like foreign horror films I watched in college, which I've weirdly seen a lot of, but this one was great. Sold me on watching films from places that aren't the U.S., which high school didn't do a lot to convince me of that.
And the nice thing, not only is it arty and cool, and got a lot of good drama going on, but the scary bits, scary,
Super scary,
super scary bits.
horrifying, terrifying, awful.
And it's especially cool because you can see a lot of early film visuals in particularly the more horrific bits. with the Babadook often kind of looking straight out of a German expressionist film.
Yeah, very much, very reminiscent of the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
That would be the big example I would
That,
think of too.
yeah, I mean that's the big example of German expressionism.
Yeah, also a little bit Nosferatu with the shadows of the
Yeah,
fingers
a
and that
little
sort of
bit.
thing.
Yeah,
But really good film.
really great.
And it looks like we don't have to wait terribly long for another film by Jennifer Kent with a movie, The Nightingale, coming out later this year, which is a period piece taking place in 1825 in the Tasmanian wilderness.
Mm.
So that should be exciting. Maybe not as traditionally horror, but probably pretty good.
It is described as a thriller, which is, I guess, subtle in the differences, but still different enough that you're like, hold on now.
I I know a lot of horror fans who hate what they refer to as the T word. They're like,
Yeah,
let it be a horror, or let it be, some other genre.
like if it's not horror, then it's drama. Is I think the sentiment there.
Probably, yeah. I think they kind of look at it as a way to take away films from the horror genre to be like, no,
Yeah.
these are too good. They can't be horror films.
I think there is a difference though. I think thriller has to do more with the tension that would be building up before a big scare, and horror movies are more just about getting to that big scare.
Ooh, I think we could debate on that topic for some time, but that's not what this episode's
That
about.
is not what this episode's about. You are
Uh,
right.
but I am excited to see more from Jennifer Kent.
Jennifer Kent should be giving us good stuff.
Right? I'm hoping so. This next director, I've seen not a heck of a lot by,
No.
but he also doesn't have a heck of a lot to see. He's done a short film called Virgin. He's done The Myth of the American Sleepover, and It Follows, this being David Robert Mitchell.
David Robert Mitchell.
The only film out of those I've seen is It Follows,
Mm-hmm.
and I super like it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I know who don't like it a heck of a lot, but I think the problems that they have with that is more at like the core premise, which I
Mm.
could kind of see people having troubles with.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a sexual transmitted curse slash ghost kind of thing,
it
which
would
is a bizarre idea.
yeah, it's a weird thing to like make your audience accept.
Yeah, and with that, it comes with a lot of backstory. You have to provide a lot. What are the rules of this curse? Why is this happening? And
Yeah.
maybe not all that is answered quite as thoroughly as you'd like. But the direction in this movie, phenomenal.
Mm.
Like, there's shots that are just very fluid. There's a shot in particular in a hallway that does 360 a couple of times. And in
Ah.
the last few times, you can see the monster coming,
Ooh, that's
which
really
the
great.
main character can't. And it's very, yeah, there's a lot of good scary moments like that done through the camera work that I think show a very competent director. And so I think that's worth looking at. It's clearly inspired by a lot of John Carpenter films.
Mm-hmm.
One in kind of the look of it, but more so in the score.
Mm.
Very synthy,
Okay.
very
Ooh,
80s.
yeah.
A lot of it feels like it could take place in the 80s, except the technology is too advanced.
Mm. I like that though.
Yeah, it's got a nostalgic feel to it. You can clearly see his influences. His other big film is The Myth of the American Sleepover, which I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But it looks like pretty soon I'll be able to watch another film of his because he has Under the Silver Lake coming out later this year.
Oh, what is that about?
Uh, I'll have to look. I couldn't tell you off the
All
top of
right,
my head.
that's okay.
This is me looking. Sam, intelligent but without purpose, finds a mysterious woman swimming in his apartment's pool one night. The next morning, she disappears. Sam sets off across LA to find her, and along the way, he uncovers a conspiracy far more bizarre. It sounds interesting,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's good, so I can say that I like two films by David Mitchell or Robert Mitchell. But currently, I can just say I like It Follows.
Yeah.
Any problems with it, I don't think are in the directing.
Yeah.
and it shows he's got a very good eye. So I'm excited to see more. And pretty soon I'll have to go back and watch The Myth of the American Sleepover. I hear it's kind of in the vein of a lot of Richard Linklater films,
Oh,
which
okay.
I enjoy him.
I enjoyed Dazed and Confused the one time I saw it.
But at the very least, it seems maybe he can replicate directors well
Yeah,
with John
sure.
Carpenter and Richard Linklater.
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, let's be excited to see who he'll replicate in Under the Silver Lake.
Well, don't say it like that.
At the very least, here's hoping Under Silver Lake is good.
Yeah, here's hoping.
So moving on to one of our final directors that we're excited about being up and coming is someone who was already very much in the public eye, primarily as an actor,
Mm-hmm.
also as a writer. This being Jordan Peele.
One of
If,
my favorites.
if someone would have told me years ago that one of the two guys on Key and Peele were going to write and direct a revitalization of social thrillers and would be the winner of a Best Original Screenplay Oscar, I would not believe you. That sounds made up.
Yeah, I would have laughed in your face.
But here we are looking at Jordan Peele, Oscar winner Jordan Peele.
Oscar winner Jordan Peele.
Turning his sights from being a very funny sketch comic to serious director.
Yeah, very serious director tackling very serious issues.
Yeah, Get Out being in the vein that he likes to point out, in the vein of like the Stepford Wives and other such kind of like social interest films.
Yeah.
And this one being instead of about like gender, about race.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
Yeah, I was in a contemporary film class where we started the semester with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and then ended it with Get Out. And I thought that was really great because you can kind of see you can really see the similarities between those two films.
That's fair.
And I thought it was kind of a good way to like bookend contemporary film.
I am excited to see more from him, and it
Oh
looks
yeah.
like we're going to be given more because the movie Us is currently filming.
Yeah.
We've got a little teaser poster for that. It's very nondescript. It's very minimalist. Just kind of two inky figures on a white background.
Yeah, kind of similar to the ink blot test, it looks like.
A little, yeah. But otherwise, all it says is that it's another social horror thriller.
Horror thriller. To bring us back to the debate.
Right? And it looks like in addition to that, he's going to be working on a Twilight Zone TV series remake for CBS.
Interesting.
Yeah. He makes one super stellar film, opens all the doors.
He gets to remake the Twilight Zone.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. But I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to see Us. And I'm excited,
whatever it is.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited to watch Get Out again and again.
Yeah. It gets better every time. It's so good.
It really does. You see more every time. Man, I hope he's not a one-note guy.
Yeah, like I hope the next one isn't like Get Out, but like slightly different.
Yeah.
Like it would still be great, but it would be like, wait a second. I just watched this.
It's weird that two of the people to make our list are comedians.
Comedians, yeah.
Yeah, turned
Comedians
serious directors.
Yeah, dramatic directors. I like it though. I think I think that's a good place to come from though. I think if you've dealt in comedy, you're able to tackle more serious genres just with a little bit of like sensitivity without getting too cringy about it.
That's fair, especially with Jordan Peele coming from the world of sketch comedy. He's used to kind of constructing things. So here's hoping you can keep turning that sketch comedy brain into horror gold.
Horror gold, yeah.
We've got one more director here to round out our 10. And Alix is going to have to take that one from me because I've seen nothing of hers. But before we get to that, we're going to have a nice little word from our podcast overlords.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal, providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.
And we're back to continue doing our Overlord's bidding.
Hooray!
Yay!
We love you!
Yay!
Yay!
So, I'm gonna hand the figurative steering wheel over to Alix,
Ooh.
and she's gonna take you on a nice little exploration on what she has at least seen of Anna Lily Amirpour.
So, like a few of our former filmmakers on this list, she has also worn many hats, having credits for directing, writing, editing, acting, producing, cinematographing, animating, costume designing, production designing, just a lot of stuff, like the classic film school routine of doing everything yourself and, on the opening credits going, an Anna Lily Amirpour film, a film by, because if you were to just, dole out all the credits with just your name, it gets a little weird and it gets a little lengthy. But most notably by her, the feature that was her feature-length directorial debut was A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, an Iranian film that she describes as an Iranian vampire spaghetti western, which isn't totally accurate, but you can definitely see where her inspirations were. There are quite a few shots that are reminiscent of the cinematography of westerns. It has a very Tarantino feel. A lot of the shots are very reminiscent, at least, of Kill Bill. I thought, and it's just kind of a masterpiece. It follows this young man as he is struggling to balance his father's drug addiction with his own life, with he being the only employed member of his household, having to earn money by cleaning and maintaining this rich woman's house, coming home only to find his father in the middle of a heroin trip on a daily basis. Alongside this, we are introduced to the vampire of the film, the girl that walks alone at night, who at first seems to use her vampirism in kind of a vigilante justice kind of way, in which she attacks men who have wronged women, provide some kind of justice. But later in the film we see it's a little more complex, and sometimes she just needs to feed. And sometimes she doesn't have the luxury of picking a victim who deserves it. Overall, really great film. I expected it to just be kind of a straight up vampire film, but it discussed a lot. It did kind of what we've been talking about with a lot of contemporary horror films, of discussing very real problems of drug abuse, drug addiction, sex worker abuse, as well as poverty. And it did a really great job tackling all of those subjects without derailing the film and making them feel like very pertinent plot points.
And by us saying this, I don't want to imply that horror hasn't always been about kind of the metaphor behind the horror.
Yeah,
but
definitely not.
There definitely is a rash of more noticeable examples of this.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, overall great film. Black and white the whole way through and lit beautifully for black and white. The first shot alone is breathtaking. Um, Before this, she had done primarily shorts, I think exclusively shorts. And while I was only able to watch one of them, I was also able to see a trailer for another. Um, so I was able to watch Six and a Half, which is not as plot driven as A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, but it was her first short, so it's fair for it to be a little experimental. It follows a young girl who, while trying to capture a frog in a pond, injures herself and either goes on to learn a little bit about pain and death and kind of the reality of existence, or just goes on to be curious as a little girl. I'm not sure how much meaning we're supposed to get out of it, but it kind of exists in this limbo that I think you can get out of it what you want. I was able to see the trailer for A Little Suicide, which is about a suicidal cockroach. And what's fun about this film is that while it exists in the real world, the cockroach is animated, so you constantly get these live action characters interacting with this cute little animated cockroach that disturbs things in the real world, like climbs underneath a very real sandwich, um, steps right in front of a woman's shoe, and as she proceeds to just walk around him instead. This one also seeming to kind of deal with death and pain and the darker aspects of life. But overall, I'm really impressed by her films. I think they're very quirky, but also able to tackle some more serious issues. After A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, she did The Bad Batch, which I was not able to see, but it is a post-apocalyptic cannibal film set in Texas. And it looks great. It has Jason Momoa, Keanu Reeves, I think also Jim Carrey, although I could be misremembering that. But it looks really fun. It looks like it's got a great tone. It looks like it has amazing visuals, the same as A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. And it seems to still tackle some tough questions about existence and what it means to exist in the world and how far we will go to continue existing in it. Coming up, she has another feature called Blood Moon, which is instead set in New Orleans and seems to be trying to emulate films of the 80s and 90s, while still taking place in present day, about a young girl with superpowers who escapes from an asylum. It also seems that, like A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and The Bad Batch, the city itself is supposed to have the feel of its own character, and kind of set a really good atmosphere for the film, which I think New Orleans is a great place for that.
I would agree. I like the look of New Orleans on film. It really just is an aesthetically pleasing place to point a camera at.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a lot of neon promised in it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I do like me some neon. I really need to get my head out from under the rock I've been living in and just see A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night.
It's
I've heard
gorgeous.
Only good things.
It's absolutely
I just haven't
gorgeous.
gotten the chance yet.
Yeah.
But man, do I need to see it.
It's fantastic. The writing is really fantastic. The tone is consistent, but still dynamic enough to keep you interested. There's really great scenes of our vampire protagonist, antagonist, skateboarding down the street.
Interesting.
It's a great visual. It is really well done. She's really got a great eye for framing. And she has a really good idea of how to occupy space and when to not occupy space. When to let the space speak for itself.
This sounds like a good film for me.
It is a great film for you, I promise. She did also do a short version of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, which I also did not get a chance to see, but I feel kind of okay with that because I saw the feature. I'm sure it's great. I'm sure it's just as well directed. But I got to see the feature, and that feels like winning to me.
That's true. It's interesting that, like Jennifer Kent, she did a short version of what she would later do.
That seems to be pretty common.
That's true. Like the fellows who did Saw did that.
Yeah, at least as a proof of concept, or maybe just as something to do with an idea that you can realistically make yourself.
That's fair. That's fair. So it looks like we've got 10 directors to watch.
10 whole directors.
10 whole directors. Some of them I still have to catch a few films from.
Anna Lily
Her especially. But yeah, I'm excited to see what all of these people have to do in the future. In the show description, I'm going to slap in some links to the shorts that we were able to find to watch from these directors. Again, be warned about that Ari Aster film. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't quite know what to say about it. If you are easily made uncomfortable, or you don't like dark subject matter, I would maybe pass on that one.
That's fair. His other short, more accessible, I'd say.
Yeah.
So give Bo a watch.
Bo is really great.
And I'll throw a couple of their short films by these directors on there. Hopefully you'll enjoy them. It's always nice to see where directors get their start. Not all of the links are to very good-looking examples of their films.
Yeah.
I'm sure that they have better versions probably on their personal computers. But in order to find them on YouTube, you're going to have to watch slightly less good
quality.
Yeah, good quality, not as good a transfers. But the story's still there.
Still enjoyable.
Yeah, still enjoyable stuff. So check those out. And if you want to hear more of our opinions on movies and that sort of thing, you can listen to more episodes in the same way that you found this episode. Or you can check us out on Spotify, on iTunes, Google Play, Podbean, all kinds of podcast places. You can check us out on Facebook under All About Movies, or on Instagram under All About Movies Pod. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being on the show, Alix.
Always a pleasure.
And until next time, everybody.